Okay, in our last lesson, hopefully we successfully installed Unity and all the add-ons we need. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a project. So in our Unity Hub, in our Projects window, we're going to go to the upper right where it says New. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to choose 2D, as we're making a 2D game. The project name, you can make it anything you'd like. I'm going to name it Runny Jumps. And if you want to put it in a special location, you can, but you can just use Unity's preferred location. And after, we're going to hit Create. So now, if it's taking your Unity a while to load up for the first time, that's perfectly normal. Just go ahead and pause the video, and then you can continue whenever your Unity's loaded. Okay, so now that it's loaded, we're going to set up our windows here. So the first thing we want to check for is our hierarchy. It should be there by default. We're going to put it in the upper left. If you want to change the format of these windows, you may do so by simply holding left click and dragging them someplace. But I do recommend, for the time being, trying to keep them in the exact same place I have. There we go. It's a little finicky sometimes. As I will be telling you, guiding you where to go. So our hierarchy is going to show every game object in our scene. Our scene is going to be basically like one level. Title screen will be a scene. In the Mario Brothers, level 1-1 is a scene, level 1-2 is a different scene, etc. And the hierarchy is going to show us everything in here. The next window we want to look at is our project window. Our project window is going to show all of the files we have in our game. If you were to look in the Windows folder for this, this is what you'd see. You'd see all these files. Next is our inspector window down here. Depending on what Unity version you have, it might start right next to the project folder. If it does, I highly recommend dragging it down here. The inspector window is going to show us all the details of everything. We don't have many things here right now. We do have a main camera. If I look in the hierarchy, if I click on that, it's now going to show us all of the details, all of the settings we can change on the camera. And as well, later when we add scripts and add different things to our characters, it's going to show that as well. Next, we're going to look at the bottom left here, and this is our console window. This is used for basically two things: error reporting and also debugging. In the center here, we have our scene view and our game view. Our scene view is where we're going to build everything. We can move things around and edit. Our game view is where we're going to test our game later on. Of course, right now we have nothing there, so there's nothing to test, but that's what we're going to do with that. And one really big tip, please remember this, please write this down right now. If you're ever editing the game, if you're following along on my video or making your own game, and you suddenly realize you can't move anything around, you can't edit anything here, it's probably because you're in game view. And last, I want you to have an animation window. Now, the animation window probably isn't there when you start up the game. So what we're going to do, we're going to go up to Window, and we're going to go down to Animation, and then I'm going to click Animation, and it's going to bring it there. And I recommend putting it right next to the console, because when we create animations, we're going to have a little timeline of keyframes to do the animation. So it looks best there, but again, you're free to do it any way you'd like. Now, if you don't have a hierarchy or a project window or an inspector or a console window, you can simply go to Window, General, and we have Scene, Game, Inspector, Hierarchy, Project, and Console. There's many other windows. We won't be using too many more during this process, but they do exist. So now that we've got all of our windows set up, the next thing we want to do is create some folders. So in a simple project, you may only have 15, 20 files. But that's going to be a very, very simple project. Chances are you're going to have dozens or hundreds or maybe even thousands of files. These are going to be our pictures, our animations, our combined files, our scripts. They do start adding up. So by default, we're going to, in our assets folder, we're going to have one folder, and that's our scenes folder, which has our sample scene in it, which is what we're at right now, even though you may not have known that. So in our assets, I'm going to click on assets, and then over here in the blank area, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to highlight create at the top, and then folder at the top, and I'm going to left click, and it's going to let us rename that, and I'm going to name this art. This is where we're going to put all of our art. And if it doesn't allow you to rename it, you can right click on it and go to rename, or you can left click and press F2 and it will allow you to rename it. So we're going to make, I generally have 6 folders, and it's the first thing I do every project I make. We're going to have art, we're going to have animation, I'm going to create another one, we're going to have scripts. So scripts is where we're going to put all of our code. Scenes is where we're going to put all of our levels, our completed levels basically. Art is where we're going to put our art. Animation is where we're going to hold our animations and our animation controllers. More on that later. And then we're going to create one more, and I'm going to call it, I like to call it sounds, but you can call it sound effects, music, whatever you like. We're going to put all of our sounds and our music effects here. And we have 5, we need one more. Now this one is probably not self-explanatory. This is going to be called prefabs. And in Unity, a prefab or prefabrication is basically a combination of files put together. So we're going to make our player. Our player is going to have a physics system on him. He's going to have a maybe several box colliders, several animations, several sounds, a bunch of different things, and we can save all of that together. Again, in like Mario Brothers. Mario has a script on him, he has all of his animations set to there, so we don't want to have to recreate that every time. So in Unity, we can create an entire player, everything about him, and then save it as a set of items, and that's a prefab. Alright, so we have our 6 folders here. The next thing we need to do, I need to make sure I don't click anything I shouldn't, is we're going to go to the Runny Jumps project files that you should have downloaded by now. And we're going to import these into Unity. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to open up my sounds folder. I'm going to left click, drag to highlight all of these. At the time of filming this, there's only 6 sound effects. When you're actually watching it, there may be more. But just drag all of them into our folder here. And when you see the little plus, just drop it. It may take a little while depending on the size of the folder, but if I double click on it here, boom, all of our sound effects. So I'm going to click back on assets here. I'm going to go down. I'm going to go to our player folder, and I made a specific folder for our player, so I'm just going to drag the whole folder into art. And then our art folder up here, this is going to have several things.
I wanted to take a moment to give some credit to the artists. I did some of the art, but the real MVPs are Digital Moons, who provided us permission to use the beautiful blue forest background, Craft Pix with the second green forest background, and Pixel Frog, who's responsible for all the cute Ninja Frog sprites we're going to use. I've linked their info down below and also provided it in the file package you've downloaded. If you have a moment, go check out their work and give them a compliment or comment if you like some of their stuff. You don't have to, of course, no pressure, but showing them appreciation goes a long way. They also have a lot of other artwork to possibly use in your future games. Okay, back to the game.
And we're going to drag all of this into our art folder. And it may take a little time to load, but not so much. Good. And then I got one more folder called fonts, and I'm just going to drag that since we don't have too many. Actually, tell you what. I'm just going to grab this whole font folder and I'm going to make it its own folder. So now we have 7 folders, so apparently I lied. And with that, we've got all of the assets we need to work for a while. So later, we will be adding animations. We're going to create them inside Unity's. Prefabs we'll be making as we go, and we will be writing scripts. So I will see you in the next one.